I hope you enjoyed that victory and I hope you're still enjoying it like I am. I'll tell you the who, what, how, and why here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for joining me on this Victory Monday here, Jaguar fans, on the Locked On Jaguars podcast. I'm Tony Wiggins, your host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. We're at your team every day, and we thank you for making us your first listen, reminding you that we are free every get your podcast on every single platform. Make sure you like and subscribe us on YouTube as well. Today's episode of Locked On Jaguars is presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than PrizePicks projection, you win and can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Promo code is Locked On. I don't know about y'all, man, but it felt good to get a win. It felt good to have something positive to talk about and something positive to discuss. I celebrated last night. Okay, let me be honest with you. I was going to celebrate last night, whether they won or lost, because I'm on a mini vacation. As you can see, my hair is all lopsided and going all everywhere. With a dude last night, some dude named Jameson, some Irish guy. We got into it, and I lost. So still, the Jaguars won, and I hope you guys safely celebrated that victory yesterday. 27-20 over the Las Vegas Raiders, who were in a similar situation that Jacksonville was, losing a lot of close games. Can't seem to find, get over the hump. The Jaguars did it yesterday. They got over the hump and they beat those Raiders, but they did in a way that I didn't expect it. This shows that you need to leave room for the supernatural things happening and watching. That's why I love sports so much, because it never really goes the way that you thought. If you'd have told me that the Jaguars would get behind 17-0, that they would turn the ball over on their very first possession, I would have they got skunked. And I would have told you that this is probably a game that they did not lose a very close matchup. This would probably be one of those games where they got whipsawed, Peter-rolled, whatever you want to call it. But that did not happen. That absolutely did not happen. The Jacksonville Jaguars came from behind, and they went on a run yesterday, a 27-3 run. I sound like I'm talking about basketball, but I'm not. But it was a 27-3 run, and it was a virtual masterpiece. It's what they did in the Chargers game. That's exactly what they did. They played in the second half like they played the entire game against the Los Angeles Chargers earlier this year, the way that they played against the Indianapolis Colts early this year. And they really, really had things like come together for them. And it gives not only us as the viewer, but it gives them an idea of, when you concentrate and focus, actually what you can be and how good you can be. And it's always good and tangible when they can actually have something that they put their fingers and their hands on. They are in control of their destiny. I do think there were a few adjustments yesterday, and I'll talk about those in the second segment. But I really believe it's just a matter of those guys went in at halftime and decided they were going to execute and that they were tired of losing. And instead of trying to figure out a way to win, they created a win. Winning comes it's a creation. It's what you do that allows you to win. You don't sit around and snap your fingers, and you don't sit around and just wait for it to happen and hope and wish that it happens. You got to go make it happen. And those guys did it yesterday. Shout out to the defense. We'll talk about them in segment 3, especially DeJuan Smoot. I'm really, really going to bring up certain people in segment 3 that had a really, really good day yesterday that allowed this team to pull out the victory. Now, I'm also going to point out the fact that Doug Peterson did a few things yesterday you can almost see, you hate to say the guy who has a Super Bowl championship, like he learned something. I ain't going to go there. But I think by being around this team every single day, he has his finger on the pulse of the team, obviously. And we talked about maybe putting them in better positions and maybe not, don't lose your aggression, but understand that you're dealing with a young bunch, understanding that you're dealing with a bunch of dudes that, coming into this year, they didn't know how to win very much. And then it seems like they lost their way and they kept losing games that they probably should have won. I think Doug put them in a position to be successful. It's almost as if, all right, if I can tell you what I'm thinking here and what I juxtapose from what I saw Doug Peterson do yesterday, it was more of like, look, I trust you. You can do it. Almost like the first time I helped my son ride a bike without training wheels. You can do this. Even if you fall, you ain't gonna kill yourself. You can do this, man. Come on. So I'm gonna put you in these positions, and I trust and believe that you're gonna be able to get it done. And that's exactly what they did. They ran the ball on the goal line. All right. So that's Doug pulling back a little bit and saying, you know what? We'll get chunks of yardage. Let's run this thing. We're going to power it in. And even when he didn't make it on the first try, he did it again. And he did it again. Travis Etienne showed that he is an every down back. He's not an air back and a change of pace guy. No, he is an every down NFL. He's thick-legged too, man. Travis is about 215, 218 pounds. And he showed yesterday that he is that dude, right? They still have a little things they need to work on, like being sort of loosey-goosey with the football. But other than that, man, this was a textbook game of how to come back and win a game. So I want to talk about Doug Peterson, some of the things that he did differently. I want to talk about Mike Caldwell, who I know at halftime yesterday, everybody wanted to run him out of town. And what happened with that defense and what did they do differently? And I'm going to make a call that I think a lot of you guys will agree with me with DeJuan Smoot. I think it's later for him being just a dude coming in off the. I think DeJuan Smoot needs to be playing where Roy Robinson Harris is. And I don't know if we can do that every time or do that all day, or if it's, that's not four-man front. That's the difference between a 4 and a 3-man front. I just think he makes too many plays and he does too many things that show how good he is. I really do think there needs to be more of DeJuan Smoot in the game. Just my opinion. I think DeJuan Smoot needs to play more. All right, I'll tell you more about all of that stuff here in just a second on Locked On Jaguars after I tell you about PrizePicks. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. Now listen, it's daily fantasy, all right? Your place entries and there are player projections. That's what it is. And what you have to do is decide the player projections that have been placed on the athletes. You have to decide whether it's more or less. Do you know more than the people at PrizePicks.com? Now, you have to pick these two people. If you pick up to 5 and it's any sport, go to PrizePicks.com or you download the PrizePicks app format. You're competing against them, not a whole bunch of people. And it's not almost like it is. You can actually flex play as well. Even if you get 1 or 2 of them wrong, you can still recoup some of those funds. But if you get all 5 of them, if you get up to 5, you can win up to 10 times your money. Trust me, it's worked for me. I made an $18 wager and I got $180. You can do the same thing. Download the app or go to prizepicks.com and sign up for what is called daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's right. The promo code is Locked On, and you can receive up to you're going to get 50. They're going to give you $100 if you put $50 in. All right. So you can get a matching instant deposit of up to $100 on your initial sign up at prizepicks.com when you use the promo code Locked On. All right, man. So the Jags win a game and break a 5-game losing streak. And I know most of you are absolutely thrilled. At halftime, I know Jaguar fans, and plus I was following the game on social media, even though I'm out of the country. Everybody was ready to just run Mike Caldwell right on up out of Duval County, right? And look, I get it. You know, we live in a world where everything is always the coach's fault. Even when it might not be, it's his fault because, well, if they're not doing it, that means, you know, it's either they don't know how to do it, you didn't teach it properly, they don't have enough respect for you to do it the right way, or there's no accountability. So usually the coach is the person that everyone blames for stuff, and I don't have a problem with that because at the end of the day, that's what it is. You know, you have to get the job done. But I don't know if he made any adjustments yesterday. I don't. I think guys just at some point they made it a point that guys just have to play better. I'm gonna keep my hand up right here because it seems like every time I drop my hand, the screen gets dark. So if you're watching it, but the term or the thing that always comes up is they don't make a halftime adjustment. So they don't. And I have been told by so many people that that's overrated. I have been told by so many people that it's not about halftime adjustments. It's about guys just executing and doing a better job at what the coaches ask them to do. They started to tackle better in the second half. They were more active. And though they didn't sack him outside of DeJuan Smoot's 2 sacks, and we'll talk about him in a few, they on defense seem to really, really, really just play with a lot more energy and a lot more determination and desperation. They wouldn't have been able to come back had Oakland scored some points. If Oakland puts up 13 points in the second half, the Jaguars lose. So the thing that works, you know, about a comeback is you have to do 2 things. You got to score points, and then you got to stop the other team from scoring. And that's exactly what the Jaguars did. Oakland was 3 and out. And the offense really, really, really started clicking. I'm going to put my hand back up because it got dark again. But Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence, was it 3 weeks ago that I said that the guys who are the best guys on the team have to show up and lead the team? Well, offensively, that's exactly what happened. Against Max Crosby, there were no sacks allowed by Jawan Taylor. And for anybody that thinks Jawan Taylor shouldn't be re-signed, you're crazy. Or that the Jaguars should have traded him, you're crazy twice. But it was Mr. Efficiency at quarterback. It was timely runs and getting extra yards and toughness by Travis Etienne, and he protected the football. Christian Kirk got open. Zay Jones got open. Marvin Jones got open. And they sat down right in the middle and gave Trevor Lawrence easy targets. I even saw Evan Ingram catch a pass that was a critical play. Trevor was 25 out of 31. He was dialed in for 235 yards, and he was extremely patient. He didn't chunk the ball downfield, hopelessly trying to make a play that wasn't there. He took everything that was there on the table for him to take. And it appears that what happened is they just decided, look, we're going to do everything the coaches ask us to do. These are the things that we saw in the preseason. These are the things that we saw in training camp. They're the things that made me think that this team could really do something special this year. I think I mentioned in the preseason, too, that this team would not be blown out by anybody, and they haven't. They're 3-6, but they have not been blown out by anybody. I thought it was going to happen yesterday, but they have not been blown out by anyone. And they haven't played a game that ended with the only games that they've had that were more than a one-score game were the 2 they won early in the year. So this team is good enough to compete on a week-to-week basis. But I told Jaguar fans this in the offseason when folks were saying, man, we just want to be competitive. And I always said, no, you ain't going to want to be. Once you're just competitive every week, you know what you're going to get tired of? You're going to get tired of being competitive and losing. You're going to get tired of being competitive and losing. And that's where some of the apathy and this team, so that's where all of that stuff came from, because sometimes you have to be careful with what you ask for. The Jaguars in the past were not competitive, and you knew the game was over in the second quarter. You don't get that feeling at all this year. But I warned folks that kept saying that stuff. I knew that it was not going to be enough. It was not going to be enough. So the stars led the team, but there was one player in particular I want him to play more, and that's DeJuan Smoot. I talked about him yesterday in the postcast. I'm going to do a little bit more of that in just a second here in the third and final segment on Locked On Jaguars, because I think DeJuan Smoot needs his flowers today, and I hope he never, ever, 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 ever leaves the Jacksonville Jaguars. They need to pay him and do whatever they can to keep him. I want to tell you about BetOnline.net because it's your number one source for betting football and the start of the NBA season. The Astros won the World Series. Dusty Baker finally got him a championship. Shout out to the Phillies for fighting, but if you'd gone to BetOnline, you probably would have known because of that pitching staff and the gritty play that Houston was going to win. And you can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every team in the NFL and NBA the same way you did in baseball. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more because BetOnline is where the game starts. You start here with me, Locked On Jaguars, every single day, and we appreciate that. You making us your first listen. For your second listen today, check out the Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. DeJuan Smoot, give him his flowers, give him money. Keep him at all costs. Do not let DeJuan Smoot go and start making plays for other people. DeJuan Smoot we had a guy like this in the past. His name was Joe Schmingy. Like every time he came in, the crowd even screamed his name, Schmingy, because it seems like he's a role player, but he always found a way to get the job done, whatever you need. DeJuan Smoot is just a dude, man, that needs to retire Jacksonville Jaguar. He gets the job done. And I know he's bounced all around the lineup, whether they were in a 4-3 or a 3-4, and he's always just been this dude. It's like the guy that does everything for you all the time. I want them to show their appreciation by re-signing him and keeping him, even if it means them saying, hey, you want to play a little 3 technique and you can be on the field all the time. There are teams that thrive. Wade Phillips teams always did this. Like some football players are just positionless. And you know what they are? They're just football players. DeJuan Smoot's a pure football player. Now, I know it might be asking a lot to think that DeJuan Smoot can have the same productivity as a full-time starter, but I sure like to see him give him an opportunity to try. Because if they don't do it here, somebody else is going to do it. Somebody's going to pay him to come in and start because he's so reliable. I was in a press conference. He was in the interview. He's just he exudes confidence. He says all the right things. He does all the right things. He's always prepared. He pretty much answers the bell at every single turn. And those are the type, I call them the others. Those are the type of players that this organization needs to lean on. I don't think they win the game yesterday without DeJuan Smoot. I'm dead serious. I just don't. So he's like a positionless football player, but that's just it. You can't afford to lose people like that. You can't afford to lose them in a locker room. You can't afford to lose them from an identity purpose on your football team. DeJuan Smoot is the real deal, and I hope the Jaguars. He had 2 sacks yesterday, the only 2 sacks the Jaguars had, and he had absolutely both of them. Nothing says more about a player than his productivity and the way that his teammates seem to respond to him. He's just the Energizer Bunny. He works hard. He's good for the locker room. He's good for the team. He's good for the city. And I sound like his agent. I'm trying to get him and Jawan Taylor paid again. But that's how you win football games. You surround, you have a bunch of winners on your team. Look at a team like Philly, right? So Philly has a guy on their team that's very, very similar. His name is Brandon Graham, right? First round pick, probably never really lived up to all of the hype of being a guy picked in the top 20. but it's like he's been there. Brandon Graham was in the same draft as No Sean Marino. And Brandon Graham has been in Philly for like forever, right? But Philly keeps adding little pieces and pass rushers around. So a team that's trying to contend will go out and add pass rushers and go out and add extra people. I think teams that want to try to get good need to do the same thing. I know you're in a different situation if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, but still, at some point, it's not about your situation. It's not about where you are. It's about what you're trying to get, where you're trying to get to. And to me, DeJuan Smoot is someone who would be extremely valuable on a contending team. You need to make him extremely valuable here in Jacksonville and find a way to pay him and find a role for him so that he is used more, and whatever he's working with and whatever he's doing can be more and more contagious. The Stars led the team yesterday, 27-20 over the Raiders. We're going to see if the Jaguars can keep a little momentum and keep that moving. For them to make that 9-8, they have to win 6 out of the next 8. Now, I don't know if they're going to do that, but I will tell you this. I remember telling someone last week that they may not be favored in but one game down the stretch. I think they're going to win 2 or 3 games that they're probably not supposed to. I mean, they got some tough ones. They got Baltimore, they got Dallas, they got Kansas City. I'm not saying they're going to win those games, but what I am going to tell you is this. They have a chance to win some games down the stretch that they're probably not supposed to. They need that game against Houston. They have to beat Houston, and they have to at least split with Tennessee. Now, if they get the version of Tennessee with the rookie quarterbacking right now, who they won't let him throw, and I don't know if he can or can't, but Malik Willis, they can beat them. They can beat them, and they can beat them twice. So that would make them 4-2. If they beat them twice and beat Houston, they've already split with the coach. That'll make them 4-2 in the division. And then all they got to do is just start hoping that the rest of these teams fall back. And remember, there's 7 playoff spots. I think 9-8 might give them a shot to make it. Maybe. We'll see. All right? We'll see. But enough talking about that. We're going to just focus on the fact that the Jaguars did get a 27-20 victory yesterday. You guys, make sure you take care of each other. Enjoy this victory. And thank you, Jaguars. Thank you for giving us something to be positive about here on the Locked On Jaguars podcast. I'm your boy, Tony Wiggins. I'll check you out tomorrow from lovely Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Until then, you guys take care of each other. We'll see you.